Today, let's unravel the 3 terrifying true night shift horror stories. Before we dive in, please subscribe to our channel for more spooky stories if you haven't already. The night shift. For some, it's peaceful solitude, but for others, it's a doorway to terror. Welcome to our channel, where tonight we're diving into 3 terrifying true night shift horror stories. These are real accounts from people who worked in the dead of night and wished they hadn't. Let's get started. Story 1. The hospital's silent room. Our first story takes us to a hospital where a nurse was working her usual night shift. The building was eerily quiet, with only the hum of machines and the occasional distant sound of footsteps. She'd been assigned to the 4th floor, a floor that had a reputation among staff for being strange. That night, everything seemed normal until she noticed room 402. It was supposed to be empty, but the door was ajar, and the faint sound of whispering came from inside. Thinking it might be a lost patient, she cautiously entered. The room was empty. No patient, no visitors, just silence. As she turned to leave, the whispering began again, this time louder and coming from the corner. She froze, her heart racing, and felt the air turn icy cold. Something brushed past her shoulder, though no one was there. She fled the room and reported it to the security guard, who calmly replied, "Oh, that happens sometimes. Room 402 hasn't been used since a patient passed away there, 10 years ago." She never worked on the 4th floor again. Story 2. The Warehouse Watcher. Our next story takes place in a sprawling warehouse where a security guard worked alone on the night shift. His job was simple: patrol the building, check the cameras, and make sure everything was locked up. Easy enough, or so he thought. One night, as he scanned the cameras, he noticed something strange on one of the screens. In the far corner of the warehouse, a shadow moved. He knew no one else was there, so he grabbed his flashlight and went to check. When he reached the corner, there was nothing. No sign of anyone. But just as he was about to turn back, he heard a soft thud behind him, like a box falling. He whipped around, and there it was, a figure standing at the end of the aisle, its face obscured in shadow. He called out, but the figure didn't move. Slowly, it began walking toward him, its footsteps echoing on the concrete floor. Panicked, he ran back to the security room and locked the door. When he checked the cameras again, the figure was gone. The guard quit the next day, convinced that whatever he saw wasn't human. To this day, employees still report strange shadows in that same corner of the warehouse. Story 3. The Gas Station. Visitor. Our final story comes from a gas station attendant working the graveyard shift. It was a quiet night with barely any customers. Around 2 a.m., a car pulled into the lot, but something about it felt wrong. The car was old and battered, and the driver never stepped out. The attendant watched nervously as the car sat there, idling for what felt like forever. Finally, the driver rolled down the window. But instead of asking for gas, he just stared. The attendant couldn't see the man's face clearly, but he felt an overwhelming sense of dread. The driver muttered something inaudible, then slowly drove away. Thinking it was over, the attendant tried to shake it off. An hour later, the same car returned, but this time it parked at the edge of the lot. The driver didn't move. He just sat there, staring at the gas station. The attendant locked the doors and called the police. But before they arrived, the car sped off into the darkness. The officers searched the area, but found nothing. The next morning, the attendant learned that a similar car had been spotted near another gas station, where the worker had gone missing. No one ever found out who or what was driving that car. These are the kinds of stories that make you question what really happens in the dead of night. From haunted hospital rooms to shadowy figures and mysterious visitors, the night shift can be more than just lonely. It can be terrifying. Which story gave you chills? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of terror. Until next time, stay safe, especially if you're working the night shift.